And I am super excited to welcome up to the stage Rachel over at Zwift.
Hello. My name is Rachel Camel. I am the Director of CRM at Zwift. And today we are going to talk about some ways to get our work prioritized. Because we all know what we do and we know why it's important, but our stakeholders and our senior leadership team don't always. And most of us probably have pretty small teams and have a lot of work to do. So we're going to talk about how we educate our stakeholders to get buy-in, how we prioritize our work, and ultimately how we get stuff done with some quick wins. So I've been at Zwift for a little over 9 months, almost 10 months now, and I have spent the majority of my career in the gaming and entertainment space doing CRM and customer lifecycle. I'm originally from Minnesota, and now I'm living in OC. I feel called out because Mike earlier said that he was going to name his dog but not his partner, and I too was planning on naming my dog but not my partner. But I do spend my weekends watching lots of sports and playing with my dog checkers. And a little bit about Zwift. So we are the #1 indoor cycling app. We are a subscription-based fitness platform that aims to make more people more active more often. It's a massively multiplayer online video game for cyclists and runners. And it's this immersive, social, virtual world that connects your app wirelessly to your trainer or your treadmill so that your real-world effort powers your in-game avatar. And not only what company people work at, but also CRM, customer lifecycle, customer experience, what does that mean? And you've probably had a lot of people, whether it's your parents or your colleagues, not really understand what you do. And that's probably the biggest challenge. Because while we know what we do, our stakeholders don't. So our job is to educate our stakeholders on the value of our function. Because if they don't understand what we do and they don't understand the impact we can have on the business, they aren't going to give us the buy-in or the resources to get things done. So our goal, collectively, I think that the folks earlier did a pretty good explanation of what we're trying to do, but really, brands are winning their customers over with these joyful customer experiences. And we do that by fostering these mutually beneficial relationships. We're getting something out of it. They're having a great experience. They're falling in love with pizza or cycling. And we are leveraging data and technology, thanks Iterable, for helping us create these meaningful experiences. We're all ultimately building toward omni-channel, and I think that what we saw in the product showcase was a lot of different ways that we can reach out to people, whether it's embedded messaging, whether it's WhatsApp, but ultimately the entire objective is the right person with the right message on the right channel at the right time. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but again, it's really important to land these philosophies with your leadership teams, with your engineering teams, because they're the ones that are probably going to unlock all those resources for you to get things done. And so a big part of what I spent the last 9 months doing was talking about this to all of these different teams over and over, and giving them real-world examples of why this is going to make a difference to our customers. Because we also need to help them understand the why. Okay, so what do? You send the right message at the right time to the right person on their preferred channel, but why? Well, we need to have the ability to target our users, surface that right content, deliver the right channel, send at the right time. And if we do that, we will increase our reach. People always want to send to more people, right? Our leaders, how can you blast to more people, please? Can we make the audience bigger, please? Yeah, if we expand our channels. Yeah, if we send more personalized individual messages, we can make it more relevant, and therefore we can send more. We can get more engagement on those messages we're sending. And so ultimately, how do we explain this so that the request is no longer, can we blast 10 million people on this one static campaign, but how do we create a better, more relevant experience? And at the end of the day, all of this is a team effort. all of the resources that I needed to get everything set up and cleaned up in Iterable was a result of working with the teams around me. So getting them on board at the beginning of whatever you're asking them to do is going to be super critical to getting their buy-in, allocating resources, and ultimately getting things done. But it can be intimidating, right? You can step back and be like, where do I even start? There's so much to do. Maybe your data's a mess. Maybe you don't have the reporting you want. Maybe you don't have the creative resources to scale the way you want. Like, we all have different challenges in our businesses, and how do you prioritize which of those things is gonna help you get more done and make a difference? So I like to use the big rock philosophy to help prioritize work, because things that have a big impact also require a lot of effort. But often we spend so much time doing all of those day-to-day smaller tasks, like sending campaigns or building a journey, that we don't have the time, budget, or resources to do those big things that we want to do, like overhauling our entire data infrastructure that's going to unlock our ability to personalize and trigger and target the way we want. So we keep doing these small things. We fill up our jar with sand and pebbles, and we don't have room for those big rocks that are going to really move the business forward. If you can identify those big rocks for your business, for your team, that are going to have the greatest impact, you can get the resources to focus on those first. And getting your organization to prioritize those big rocks is really going to be the key to being able to get things done. So at Zwift, we went through an exercise to identify for ourselves what those big projects would be. And we aligned around what would be needed for each of those big rocks in order to accomplish them, and what type of timeline, what type of resources we would need. This gave us an easy way to track progress also. So not only did I know what I was asking for, but I also was able to say, we will know we were successful and completed this big rock task when this is done, and this is done, and this is done. There's an end in sight. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're not just asking for like a permanent head count that is just a complete like ask of the organization forever and ever. You're asking for a limited amount of stuff that gets you what you need to unlock the capabilities that you want. So for Zwift, it was really about data for us. And 10 months ago, I looked at it and I said, our data is unreliable. There's no data integrity, and we aren't really sure what we can trigger or target on. We don't feel confident personalizing, because what if we send someone the wrong information? 2, we don't know what works. We don't have reporting outside of Iterable to tell us if these things are actually having a business impact. We knew that people were maybe opening, or maybe not, thanks to Apple, or clicking, right? Or unsubscribing, but we didn't know whether it was driving subscriptions, whether it was driving e-commerce purchases, whether it was driving people to go in and play the game more. All of those were a big black box. And finally, we only had email. So we were only able to reach people on one single channel. But we all know that more channels will increase our reach and our relevance. So all of our development and engineering efforts for the last 6 months have been specifically focused around improving our capabilities in these 3 areas. I'm going to go into a little bit about each of these big rocks and how we discussed them and what types of features within Iterable we used to help ourselves unlock these capabilities. So things were a mess. Like, we all struggle with that activation gap they were mentioning before. We all have the data, most of us, right? You're like, the company has the data because we give the customer an awesome product, but we can't connect it where we need it. We can't use it the way we want. And so that was probably the biggest thing that we needed to focus on first. And so 6 months down the road, after I had gotten the buy-in and we had aligned around this, and the engineers and data team had a task, we landed around a clear, organized data philosophy so that moving forward, if we needed things, we had a specific way to go about getting it. We use Smart Ingest for our once-a-day Databricks, ETL, load of user profile fields. We use our segment tool to send us as-is user profile fields. This was a way for us to not have to edit anything PII, not send that through our data lake. And then we have our real-time custom events that are also coming through segment. So by deciding how we were going to bring the data in, now we're able to say, oh, I just thought of a campaign that I want to do next month. I need to have this event, and I need to be able to have it in real time. And the team knows exactly what I'm asking for, how they need to deliver it, and when. The biggest thing, though, for your stakeholders is going to be making it come to life. So it's about how do you bring this vision and this customer experience to your stakeholders. They assumed that 6 months ago, we could target and personalize dynamically based on whether you had a subscription, whether you have our companion app, and whether you have or don't have the hardware needed to ride on Zwift. They seem like pretty table stakes, basic data points for our business. We didn't have a confident way of doing that. By bringing this up, by showing the leaders that we aren't even able to do this, that was a bunch of red flags for them. They understood, oh, we always thought we could do this. We always thought that you were already doing this. And we were like, no, we're not already doing this. That's why we need to fix it. So it was a way for us to get that buy-in, and then also, once we have it now, show immediate success, right? You gave us the thing we asked for, we're using it. We did this through Smart Ingest. I know they talked about it a little bit earlier. It has been a huge help. It is bringing our ability to ask for data to our data team. They don't have to put it into a sprint and then wait 2 weeks and then evaluate and whatever. We can ask, and within a week, that data can be iterable. It's saved us a ton of engineering and data time, but it's also been able to help our CRM team bring things to market faster. We now have cleaner, more organized data. We have a faster turnaround time, and it's safer to manage, so our security team is super happy. We are also considering using features like catalog, which is also included, which would help us store and manage the data from other parts of our game, like your levels and what you can unlock, or other e-commerce items, into a catalog that then we can serve up as recommendations. We also have a lot of in-game events. We want to be able to serve those up as well. So these are features that are already included. I don't have to ask for extra budget. I don't have to ask for additional work. My team is able to go in and set that up on our own. So I think part of it is understanding what you have to ask for and what you can try to do on your own without the support of other teams. Then we have our data out, so our reporting. We basically, like I said, couldn't report on anything that wasn't already iterable. And making uninformed decisions is a little dangerous. We didn't have the ability to say if we were impacting subscriptions for a subscription business. That's something that's really important. So this was a big pain point for our finance and data teams to get us a dashboard that would allow us to do this. And so we use Tableau at an organizational level. Not everyone at the company has access to iterable, so even if we were pulling data in, not everyone would be able to look at those dashboards or those widgets to get the information. So previously, we could only look at those channel-specific engagement metrics. Now, we have the ability to look at a dashboard and see whether a user is riding, whether they are subscribed, and whether they are purchasing things. And we can measure that against every single one of our campaigns that we send through a few different tools and features. Another kind of reporting tool that we use, or optimization tool, is send time optimization. We're already seeing some early slight increases in CTR thanks to that. So again, it was just another thing where the team can make progress without the need for a lot of external support. Experiments is the big way that we've unlocked our ability to measure the lift of our campaigns, though. So we currently use experiments on every single campaign that we basically have a control group. And when we export our campaign table to Tableau, all of those have associated send skips. And those send skips are our control group. And we're able to measure how many purchases or how many actions users in the send group versus the control group take, and measure the impact of every single campaign. Finally, in the future, we're looking at predictive goals. So we think it could be great for our new user journey. We can look at how likely a user is to subscribe based on different user properties or events and ways that they're engaging with us in their early experience with the brand. This is great because we don't have a data science team. I think, again, a lot of our companies are operating with lean teams that are working on specific projects and not necessarily dedicated to just helping us build data models, right? So how do we come up with ways to augment our capabilities with the tools that Iterable already has? And then finally, channel expansion. So that was our third big rock. We basically decided that we needed to be able to send messages besides just with email. And for my stakeholders, they knew what other messages were, but they didn't really know why they were valuable. So part of it was explaining why certain channels are effective at certain things. And so for our audience, it was important to explain that push would be really good for retention, but maybe not as good for onboarding. There are other channels like embedded messaging that would be really, really good for onboarding. And so helping them prioritize these types of channels. And after we went through this exercise and said, what channels are we going to need, we were able to select the ones that we thought would have the most impact. Part of this is just simply showing that if we do all of it in this dream world, pie in the sky, that we're able to maximize every single life cycle stage for our users, because everyone is a little bit different. And so we can reach the right person on the right channel. Something is better than nothing, though. So again, with making progress and doing something, we were recently able to unlock and set up the SDK for push notifications. It's not revolutionary. I've done push notifications at every other company, right? But Zwift didn't have any. So this is huge for that group. So part of it was get it done, celebrate the win, and do something with it. This wasn't super sophisticated. It wasn't triggered on anything crazy. But just showing the ability to get something done made a massive difference and proved to the leaders that we are worth investing in, because if they give us the resources, we do something with it. And push is already providing value. So we saw for a push that we did last week that event signups doubled overnight. We were able to get twice as many people to engage with a specific birthday, anniversary event simply by sending one push notification, just one, to 10,000 people. It was, in our world, probably a pretty small proof of concept test. But for the company, this is something that they've never done. So I think showing not only that you can do it, but then also reporting out the results so that people understand the impact it's having is huge. Plus, push is so much faster to get out than an email, right? You don't have the same dev needs. You don't have the same creative needs. It takes way less internal resources to get things done. Other channels that we're prioritizing next, embedded messaging. This will be good for us both on our companion app, but also our game app. This is something that we really want to unlock as sort of our next step. And so now that we've executed push, we can think about what is the next channel to unlock and how do we prioritize that. I think WhatsApp is also really exciting, and we want to look into that as well. But we talked a little bit about getting stuff done, right? How do you get people to commit those resources? And I think part of it is just us being really smart. We talk a lot about low-hanging fruit, right? You're oh my God, there's so much to do. Look at all these easy things to do. But there are probably some watermelons on the ground. Go pick those up. Go take your wheelbarrow, pick it up. Look, there's a thing we could do. You maybe didn't even need to do much at all, but it shows forward progress. And getting those fast results and showing the quick wins earns that trust. It gets that repeated investment from your leaders, from the engineering team, from your other creative teams. So the way we did that was leveraging Smart Ingest. So now we have properties that we actually can use, and we use them every day. We have a dashboard that we share out results twice a month to in our teams, like bi-weekly business reviews at a company level. And when we did unlock push, we did like 6 smaller tests in the first week. For us, it was really just about like, you gave us this thing, we're gonna do something with it immediately. It didn't need to be massive, it didn't need to be perfect. You know, everyone says like, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. You have to start somewhere. And so don't be discouraged by the fact that like there's so much to do. I wanna use also a cycling analogy for everyone. So in professional cycling, there is this tactic called a lead-out train. And contrary to popular belief, cycling is actually very much a team sport. It's not an individual sport. And a lead-out train is a group of riders that work together to position a sprinter for their final dash over the finish line. And each rider takes a turn at the front, blocking the wind and guiding the team forward. One by one, they sort of peel off, having done their part, each taking their next turn, peeling off, and then until the sprinter is left to finally like get over the line and finish the race. And while the sprinter finishes the race and crosses the line, it was the entire team that set them up for success. And our work functions the same way. So much of this, even though our teams might be the sprinter, is due to our teams that came before us doing all that setup work to enable us to be successful. So while we are delivering the final customer experience, we can only do that because of these lead-out teams that are with us. So product that's setting the vision and requirements and building for us to be able to scale. Engineering that helps create an infrastructure and connects all the systems. Our data and analytics team help deliver usable data and provide insights and reporting tools. And each team is playing this crucial role, just like riders in the lead-out train, and only by working together, getting their buy-in, getting them to commit resources, and ultimately like pushing forward towards the same goal, are we gonna be successful? So how you win? I think you can identify and prioritize those things for yourself early on and find the right people to talk to in your organization. Who is it that holds the purse strings or the decision-making capabilities? Those are the people you need to convince. Help educate your stakeholders. They need to understand what we do. It's more technical than an average marketing role. So we need to take that burden of like educating our stakeholders so they understand. Know your ask and do your research. Has the company tried this before? Like, how much do we think this would cost? How many people are there to actually help do it? If you go in and just sort of like start asking for headcount, no one's gonna give you what you want. Make friends with your engineers. I think this is something that has always served me super well, but because we work so much with engineering and data teams, a big part of it is just understanding what they do, how they do their jobs, because then you can lead with empathy and with partnership with them. Use what you've got. I think there are a ton of free features and tools within Iterable that are already unlocked. So how can you use them and then elevate that you're using them, right? Like tell your stakeholders like, hey, we found this feature. We've never used send time optimization before. We started using it a month ago and now we're seeing an increase in click-through rates. Like those are real things that didn't require any help from anyone else. And finally, like getting those quick wins. So proving that like when you have resources, you will make use of them and thanking those people along the way so that everyone understands that like this wasn't just your team that had the success, but like it was everyone together. Thanks. There you go. Yeah.
Any questions? Amazing presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
We will have a mic coming around, so just raise your hand. and ask live. Honestly, it was a very robust presentation.
Thank you.
Here we go. You say your name, who you're with, and then lead in the question.
Okay. My name is Owen Eugene. I'm with a med tech startup out of Orange County called Beta Bionics. Also, I'm a little scared to ask this question because I'm actually not a marketer. I am the engineer for my company.
She's friends with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the advocacy.
Thank you so much.
I was just a little bit curious what your data kind of connection journey looked like. I'm new to Iterable. I've never really used it, nor has my marketing team, and that's kind of what we're struggling with right now.
So before we made any changes, we were using a completely different data lake. And part of the forcing function to, like, we needed to clean things up anyway. Things were unreliable. But our data team was transitioning from, I think, Redshift to Databricks. And it was kind of the perfect opportunity to sneak in there. And they were like, we need to rebuild this for you, so we're just going to port this over, OK? And I was like, no, no, no. Let's not port over the bad stuff that isn't working. Let's take a step back, audit and reevaluate, and then let's only send the stuff we actually want and need. And by the way, maybe I'll sneak in a few new things, because since you have to build it anyway, that's going to be super beneficial to everyone. So we had mostly a combination of real-time and batch data coming into our user profile fields. And then we also have real-time custom events. I think we still have all of those things, but it's much clearer now which things go through which channel and why. And so that also helps us with who is on the hook for delivering that if my team needs something. If I need a real-time event, I know I'm going to data engineering and Leandro. I'm not going to the data analysts over here. Does that answer your question?
It does. Could I just ask a very quick follow-up? So you talked a little bit about being an advocate for CRM. We actually use Salesforce as our CRM, so a little bit different than maybe some people use Iterable. Does Iterable serve your CRM purpose, or do you have something different in your organization?
So we don't have a sales organization, so we aren't using CRM in the sort of traditional sales capacity. We are just using CRM as more of a blanket term for customer engagement and marketing, customer lifecycle. Our CS team has other tools that they use for specific customer outreach and fielding tickets and things like that, like Zendesk and things like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions from the crowd? Well, Rachel, you're going to be around, right?
I'll be around, so if
Perfect.
you want to hit me up later. Thank you.